Hi, everyone. Hey there, dear sister. Leanne, how are you doing? Welcome to this
Kia ora
cosmic.
from Aotearoa, dear sister of Mexico. It's been a while sometime since we connected, and since then you've been on the most extraordinary journey through Sedona on your
Yeah.
rebirthing on your birthday and into our international community, which has been beautiful to witness.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was a very powerful conference, Rise of the Guardians. Not only the place itself, like Sedona being this huge vortex, um, a place and a land which codes invite you to precisely that holy, but as a wholeness embodiment, in order to navigate through Sedona's codes, in the most harmonious and blissful way. And also, the conference was a very delightful, like very beautiful people, powerful people speaking as speakers, as non-speakers, creating all this field of unity and showing with precision what us as a collective are now being required to do, bring that unity into another level. We have been talking about the unity within, which is the foundations for us to creating unity. And once we continuously achieve day by day that unity, because as we know, it's not like, ba-dam, it's a process. It's a beautiful process that, of course, we more and more we reach higher and higher levels of that, or deeper and deeper levels of that wholeness. Yet it's a continuous process. And now that we have reached a very specific point, it has been stated that we shall come into other forms of unity, bringing alive those civilizations, those colonies that once were here when all that unity consciousness was present in Earth before the cataclysm, and even after the cataclysm, but, like mainly before the last cataclysm. So it's very interesting to see how everything is unfolding and how the us who are in this inner path of remembrance, um, from a state of conscious awareness, are being called to nest in very specific parts of the planet, yet not physically alone anymore, yet, now in communities. And those communities creating structures that resemble, and not only resemble, that fully mirror and manifest what once was in prior times with more advanced technology and more advanced level of consciousness. So yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and thank you for bringing that up, because yeah, that was awesome. Beyond words, I would tell you.
Yeah, it's interesting for our connection today that Mexico, Aotearoa, and Sedona wanted to be brought into this triangulation because we've been doing so much work with the Pacific Ring of Fire and Ice and the Pacific Triangle recently in preparation. And it's been a fascinating journey. And the shifts that are happening on the planet because of this deep restructuring that's going on physically and energetically, it's interesting to see how much more of ourselves we may access and how many more people are accessing more of our multidimensional capacity. But what this has brought forward is the absolute necessity to have a very strong foundation. Because without this, if we start connecting to our multidimensionality, our light body, our light ship, our lighthouse comes online. If we're not occupying it, it can get hijacked.
Yeah.
If we have agendas, they can be hooks for other beings with other agendas. And before we know it, our lighthouse is a city unto itself that we're no longer the navigator of.
Yeah, I agree. And this is where that part of wholeness also comes, because wholeness can only be achieved through embodiment, incorporating that human part and grounding and allowing ourselves, not only the human part, because you were talking about hijacking, and that can come, and also about the multidimensional body that can come at many levels, that those forms of approaching of other beings, of other forms of consciousnesses. And if I was the other day saying, that this famous phrase of Socrates, know thyself, when you listen to that phrase, it's like, okay, it might take me my whole life to know myself as me, for instance, as me, as YssaH. Okay. And then, the multi-dimensional versions of yourself, or multi versions of yourself at different dimensions, are looking at you laughing and saying, yeah, wait until you take all of us into considerations as well, because it's not only, you know that which we know for our name now inhabiting this body or your body. It's also all those versions of ourselves in different fields, in different dimensions, and who also are experiencing their own existence. And wholeness is that as well, you know wholeness is that as well. So, and this is the tricky part, I don't know if you agree, that sometimes when you're doing a lot of work with your multidimensional level, it's easy for you not to ground it. Therefore, yes, you are aware of what's happening there, for instance, and if there, what the other versions of yourselves are doing in different dimensions, and you're collaborating and co-creating from a state of awareness. Yet, what about this reality? If you don't ground it, then you're all the time not in the body, you know? And you think you're in the body because why? Because there is a percentage of your conscious mind which is here, otherwise you wouldn't be breathing and your primary needs wouldn't be fulfilled, like eating, sleeping, and so forth. So that's the tricky part. So how can you be aware that you are not fully in the body and that your consciousness is mostly transferred into the other versions of yourself, and that it needs to even, as I say, it's like the little brother, and the older brothers. When you have stepped up and say, hey, I want to participate from a state of awareness of everything that's happening at the hyperspace, in other planets, the dimensions and so forth. And now that part of showing that you have been granted that title of older brother or sister or being, mature being, is bringing this and anchoring into your physical vessel. And I say physical because that's the other part why it can come tricky. As far as I'm concerned and how I experience it, this what we are seeing as the hologram. We are more in the 4D than what we call in the 3D. This is why we are saying that all of this is a simulation and so forth, because we are picking up from that, because we were told that the 3D, of course, are objects, but they transmit in another way. They transmit as spheres. That's where the tree of Kabbalah brings the foundations of the tree of life, because they are encrypting the spheres of knowledge that reside in the 3D. And from that 3D, we are projecting our hologram into this reality. That's why another way to master the multidimensional body is through the awareness of how to interdimensional travel, because we are all the time doing that, all the time. And that's how we connect with the other versions of ourselves, placed in different points of space.
It feels what's important is the question you asked at the beginning is, how do we know if we're in the body or not? I didn't know I was not anchored through my body until I arrived. And one of the traits that I was very aware of, or some of the traits I was very aware of, that weren't the same when I operated from my body, is that I'm not tired, I'm not hungry. And this is really important, and it's an easy one for people to recognize. To keep going and going and burning the candle at both ends, we're tapping into our Shen, or our spiritual energy. If you look at traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, you've got our Jing, our physical energy, our Qi, our prana, life force energy through breath, light interactions, and then our Shen. And in TCM, they say Shen is not replaceable. I'm not fully subscribed to Shen is not replaceable. I do believe it's possible, but it requires a lot of conscious awareness and dedication to rebuild that once it's burnt. But when we're constantly going, burning, creating, and we're not in our body, we actually don't realize how exhausted the physical human body might be. And when we do land, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I feel heavy and I've just slept for a week or more, because all of a sudden we've arrived in the body, and the body has not been having the experience that the rest of our consciousness has. The body is matter. It's an animal body on the earth plane, and it's vital that we honor the animal body in the journey. And it's through this journey of 20 years of my own embodiment and evolution and supporting others, I've actually designed a self-paced online program of 8 shamanic journeys to bring in the key pieces of our foundation of our physical body. And they're absolutely vital for our expansion to be able to unfold naturally and organically in a safe and secure way through our evolutionary process. For it's also through the physical body that we have got our truth resonance field of discernment. So we must be in the body to be able to feel that. Because, one thing's mastering discernment in this dimension. But as we expand and connect to more of ourselves, we must be able to master discernment through interdimensionally, because there's a lot of masquerading in the astral planes. Where not all ladders are good and not all snakes are bad. And how do you know the difference? Through the discernment of the alignment of our own bodies.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned something very important. Of course, all of it was. Um, Yet, addressing to what you were saying, how can you know? And you mentioned, like when you're not hungry, when you are not tired, and so forth. I fully agree, because what keeps our ego matrix attached to non organic programs are precisely the primary needs, as how we were taught, like you need to sleep this amount of hours, you need to eat this amount of times, you need to, like, of course there are physiological needs, but the thing is that when you feel that you need more than the normal parameter of what you usually need. For instance, me, um, I eat once a day. Whenever I feel like eating more, I know that I am not grounded, and the body immediately tries to do that grounding through something that is merely earthly, to say it somehow, to nourish that mass that you were saying, or um or yeah, like feeling at some point very tired, like just wanting to ground all the energy that has been moving. So, and on the other side, or when you have mastered that capability of doing missions and going to the astral and going to do this and that and help the other versions of yourself to unite, reunite, then that what you do gives you more energy. That's the other aspect. And that happens when you don't have leaks. Because, for instance, if you're, like doing multidimensional work, like for the grid, like going here and going to the specific timeline and so forth, you know, and you have leaks, those leaks can be represented as perhaps unresolved aspects of the ego. So then you're not fully, your field is not fully coherent. Therefore, energies that are there, parasites like astral entities and so forth, can filter within your body. So when you are holy as wholeness, as for wholeness, then it's not like you are shielding yourself from those energies or from those aspects. Is that your coherent field is so strong that then you relocate them. It's merely resonance. They have no point of generating resonance with you. So if there is fear, if there is any type of unresolved emotion, of rejection to something, so whatever, it mainly traduces to fear. And then fear has different branches of how it expressing itself. But this is why the core of where to generate that awareness of our multidimensional body is not there, as how we feel or how we felt. Perhaps sometimes it might come there, like, okay, connecting with, let's say, the constellation of Alpha Centauri, like, and then doing remote viewing there. Okay. But then again, it will always bring you within It will always bring you within, because even if you go out, what is activating are memories within of that which you are already experiencing, and that it's already existing within your network, your genetic network, your pyramidal network, intertwined to the space memory network. So the moment that you start to feel, for instance, if you resolve your emotional body, and by this I mean, it's not like we are not going to feel emotions anymore. No, because um, even memories are anchored through emotions. The thing is that the way of experiencing are way different, as we always say. So it's like just feeling an emotion, resolving it, bam, resolving it, bam. And then once you feel your field coherent enough, you can feel how all those versions of yourself are coming in coherently, well, not coming, outloading themselves coherently and overlapping within the different expressions of your bodies, and then accessing to whatever you want to do, wherever you want to do, because then you are counting on the wisdom, not only for me as Isha, I'm counting with the wisdom of the different versions of myself as in a ninth dimension. So, therefore, the more aware that we are creating that full spectrum of light within, again, it's not about not feeling emotions, it's about using those emotions wisely to create more energy, to create more energy. And then, like connecting with all those versions and access to their level of wisdom and so forth.
Well, like you said, the greater coherence, the greater strength, and also the more secure our field is. Any unresolved aspects of ourselves are like Velcro for resonant frequencies that match the unhealed aspects of ourselves. And that's why the very first of the journeys is what I call the alignment process. And this is aligning our physical body, our mental body, our emotional body with our soul as leader. So physical, mental, and emotional bodies are our earth team, and the soul is leader. So often people's mental bodies are leading their earth walk. And if we just let the mental body and the ego know there is a valuable use for you, but we need the soul to lead this earth walk. And a great course correct happens. And the emotional body is a very important and integrated part of our earth walk and of the integration of the bodies, because it is through the emotional bodies, energy and motion, that we can access the elemental forces of nature. And for people more advanced on their journey, they will realize that when we are resolving past trauma, that huge amount of catharsis is not necessarily beneficial. It might feel good and release energy, but it can also be very draining. So the more we are advanced on our journey, we may then learn to combust old elemental blocked energy and transform it within our system and make space. And this is another reason why people, when they do healing work, all of a sudden get very hungry and then go and eat an enormous amount. It's because by doing that, what they're effectively doing, they made a whole lot of space and then have to fill it so they can feel the same. But we don't need to fill up. We don't need to put anything in. Rather, we actually need to integrate the spaciousness of what we've created and make more space for our own consciousness to land. So the first one, the alignment process, is aligning physical, mental, emotional in the earth team, where there is no hierarchy, where the soul is leader, and to come bring them all into right relationship again. And that's the central building block and the foundation of our self-love that we then get to expand on. The next pieces we expand on are our masculine template, which is formed through how our father behaved, our relationship with our father, and what we've inherited through our patriarchal lineage. The next one is our feminine template. And within that is our experiences with our mother, good, bad, right or wrong, present, unpresent, and everything we've inherited from our matriarchal lineage. So through those two templates, we're restoring the divinity in our masculine and feminine templates, and we're resolving our ancestral inheritance that no longer serves us, or the thought forms, beliefs, and indoctrination from our society, our culture, our religious institutions. And the Trinity is formed when we go back and recover our inner child, which often forgot how to play a long time ago, grew up too fast, had to have too much responsibilities, and lost their joy of life. So bringing in this sacred trinity, our feminine, our masculine, our inner child, on top of that foundation process is very, very important. And I'll let you speak, come into the field. There's more to that. But
I love it. I love it. Thank you for doing that. I love it, and I am really enjoying what you're saying. I remember I once was tuning into that which you were saying, mainly in relation to the parents, mother, father, in Latin, which is mostly the root for these words, pater, mater. It's when you put them together, they create the word mapa, which is map. So it's the map for the inner arc, the genetic arc, the biological one. So then that form of that trinity of you as the creation of those both genetic codes bring in the light to the arc, you as not merely being the the direct the direct, yes, but the literal manifestation of those two lineages. The fact that you're coming both of them is that you're already transforming them into a highest version. And that's what it's very important for us to remember, and not the way around, because at some point this matrix, the inorganic part and the hybrid part, was created. I look to see it as tests to show whether if our level of perception is ready to truly embody the magnitude of power that moving into a 50, 70, well, passing for by the 60, of course, 70, 80, and so forth, requires. It's preparing the vessels to actually sustain that level of energy. So yeah, I will let you continue, but I just wanted to mention this part of the genetic arc, and that we are not imprisoned to the information, or the recessive information of our parents. The moment that we bring these together, you may say, yes, there are chemical reactions and there are alchemical bondings, yes. It's all based on our perception. That's the level of power that we have, resignifying that through that communion in which we emerged. Because the fact that we are not only the genetic encoding of our parents, yet also from those multidimensional versions of ourselves and the founders and so forth, it's already been given. it's focusing and activating those codes.
Yeah, there's so much. So this is brilliant, because what we're looking at is we're looking at our physical genetics and the genetics of our extraterrestrial nature that all need to integrate in this journey, in this foundation of embodiment. It's all vital. And what we're doing when we're interfacing with our mother and feminine template and masculine patriarchal lineage and template, and our father, we're bringing distortion into coherence effectively, so that we can restore the divinity of our inheritance, gratitude for the gifts, the lessons learned, and letting all else go. And it was very interesting because over this month, through the Easter passage and a
Yeah.
time of rebirthing, for very near and dear sisters, mothers transitioned.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I sat with one of these sisters recently who's also working in the field of embodiment and evolution. And we were looking at the impact of this on our energetic structure, because we were aware of my energetic structure in relation to my sister's energetic structure. And mine seemed to be stable in my galactic architecture, far stronger than hers. And we didn't understand it fully until we reflected through the shift in her system since her mother's passing. What altered mine was not the death of my mother. My mother's still alive. What altered my architecture was the transmissions for my project, Earthwalk, working with individuals on embodiment and evolution, but also working with the planetary field. It changed the architecture, or redefined my architecture into my galactic architecture. And it's been stable in that ever since. Whereas she would come in and out of it. But what happened when her mother passed, her matriarchal lineage, is even though she'd done an enormous amount of work with a very challenging relationship with her mother, it rewrote it on her mother's transition into its divinity. In the same way mine had through my transmission experience, in the same way lots of people do with NDEs. It does a reset on the template. So this was a really extraordinary discovery through the Easter passage.
And even Eastern, the Eastern passage, which is also quite related to the feminine, to the like bringing to life, So when you were telling me about that, I was and being empathic with your sisters, with your friends. I'm sorry for that which they are going through. We know it's part of the evolution, however, respecting all bodies, like, and the emotional one is part of it. So you were talking about your inner path, and I have been seeing how there are, as I was saying in the beginning of this transmission, how it has been shown to me that groups are being put together, for different aspects, whether if it's for building something, whether if it's for, but even for this, even for this, like bringing a specific codes of integration of the that maternal energy, you know, alchemizing it, torsioning it, and then planting that to the collective. You know, it. I was perceiving that as if that which your friends experienced and which you feel even deeper in you feel deeperly connected with that process, not only because they are your friends, yet also for what you're going through. Um, but is that taint of configuration in the network, that some codes in relation of the maternal aspect are being upgraded through the journey that your sisters are going through. So thank you for that.
Yeah, so then we sat with the question, well, I had that experience through my transmissions. People have had it through NDEs. My sister had it through her mother's death. When are we going to be able to access this without, like, by through doing our own work or being supported in the process of healing our feminine template? And we got the passage our planet and humanity are going through with this YssaH full moon that's only 10 days away. When we go through this passage, we're going to have access to that architecture without mother having to die, without major trauma, NDE, or experiences that we will actually, and that's like in 10 days' time. So that is really exciting, because what it does, it expands our access to our potential. And it doesn't forego the necessary to do our foundation work, because our foundation work will also play out in the planetary pantomime if it's unresolved, because our ability for our own feminine and masculine to come into sacred union together is a replication of our parents' relationship or lack of, until it's resolved within. So effectively, we're going to fulfill family prophecy and recreate
Hmm.
dysfunctional relationship until our masculine and feminine come into union once again. So there's the piece with the mother and the matriarchal lineage, the father and the patriarchal lineage, the inner child reclamation. And then we're looking at bringing in the sacred union, restoring relation and love between our masculine and feminine within. Because otherwise, we're going to hear our partner saying, "You're just like your mother. You're just
Hmm.
like your father." And that's what will play out through our own subconscious and unconscious until it's resolved. So those bringing that earth team through the alignment process, our feminine, masculine, and inner child into love once more, into the circle of love, is a vital part of the first stages of this foundational journey.
Yes, yes, I fully agree. For instance, you were relating that feminine and masculine aspect at many levels. We can also relate it to the positive and the negative, you know, the positive energy within, the negative energy within, but not as something bad and something good, just as merely poles that
Mm.
if they don't come together, then they continue creating this pendulum, you know. It's like the
Yeah.
very same sexuality, you know, like when there is not a full integration of the tantric body, to say it somehow, then it's just, you know, like moving from one side to another. And that actually it's also anchored to other harvesting systems, energetic harvesting systems, that for every person that is having intercourse, or you know, and it's not aware of their sexual energy, then that energy goes and fulfill those sectors or those control systems. However, the more that you're igniting or enlightening your tantric body, your sexual body, to sensual body, to say it somehow, then the pendulum, it starts to spin, you know, even in the motion of the very same relation, you know, and that actually elevates as a vortex or descends as a vortex, and that is creating a coherent field. Therefore, that's also why um, intercourse practices, like whether if it's with well, with someone else intercourse, but you know, like these tantric practices, not only in a sexual affair, but also like the sacredness of doing everything through that sensuality, for instance, like not just grabbing a coffee, but like really feeling the coffee, because to some extent you're intimating with that field, and whatever you are planting in that field is going to feed back at you. So that's very related to the tantra, not only that sexual aspect, as you know. But anyway, so going back to that sexual part, or non, like genital or non-genital, but like that sexual energy, um that's very powerful also, to unify, to heal many things, to harmonize many things, and also to bring into unity. Like you don't need to have a partner or even to do it with someone else, but with yourself, like you can bring in all your generations, everything that you want. It's a hardcore exercise, I must say. But when you bring all those generations and just alchemize it through the process of, uh, this is what I'm saying, because it's the process when you merge so much with yourself, so deeply with yourself, then all of those fields of information that are already within you, already present, and by that I mean codes of your ancestors, of your father, mother, brother, sister, bam, 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 and so forth. But mainly you were talking now about father, mother. So, okay. So you're bringing in those codes as aspects ignited in a very specific way within you. And then you bring them. And then through the self love that you're generating towards yourself, then you start to alchemize them and alchemize them and alchemize them. And the ego will come up first, like, what? And thoughts, and bam, bam, bam. It's part of it. It's part of the program, because this energy is so powerful. Imagine it, if it's capable, as I always say, to bring life, like of nuclear energy, like when you do it with someone else, but you can also achieve this energetically. You can create whatever you want, because you're coming from that 0 point energy. So mainly you're bringing to 0 point energy all those codes, which is the highest space where everything is torsioned and brought into wholeness. So, yeah, that's also a very grounding form.
Yeah, and when you say you can create anything you want, this is why it's a really important to let go of control and surrender to the soul. So whatever you want is for the greater good of person, people, and planet, according to divine plan and divine will. Because otherwise, if we want something and have an agenda attached to it, we're straight away a great target for hijacking.
Yeah, that's why
And
it's coming from 0 point energy.
yeah,
Just to
yeah. So we're coming in. What we're effectively doing is we're coming into the unified field of love within our own system that's no longer dependent upon anything externally. And it's a unification of polarities. And it doesn't mean we can't engage with one polarity or the other. It's a unification of polarities. And when we come into the unified field and stabilize in that unified field of love, it opens us organically to the next level of our embodiment and evolution. But there's other pieces to the foundational of our embodiment that's really important. One is our arrival from time of conception, the journey in utero, and our birth until arrival on the planet in our physical body, because all of that is also informing us energetically as to the experience we will have. So if there is any distortion in our conception, in our time in utero, when we could not discern ourselves as separate from our mother, we were feeling everything and experienced everything as she was experiencing. And also the time of birth. Did we birth into a sterile environment where our cord was cut and all of a sudden we're in the blurry lights of this 3D reality in a clinical isolation? So all of these aspects of our birthing can inform us that need resolution so that we can arrive fully onto the planet, into this body to start with. And once we have those in place and these in place, the other really important field is our sexuality. If there is any shame, fear, or guilt or trauma from this timeline or others embedded in our memory banks, it will prevent our consciousness from fully descending into our body and rooting into the planetary body, into our home planet, which is vital again for our safety, health, and well-being physically and energetically. So the next one, once we've made sure that the birth process is restored, that we have an open and relaxed flow of energy all the way through our system and into the planetary body, there's a wonderful journey of integrating the animal and the alien, our extraterrestrial soul essence, into our physical animal body, which really allows us to land here. And I stumbled across that journey completely by chance, that I feel to share here because of the nature of your audience as well. I was more familiar with my extraterrestrial nature probably than my animal body. And it was while I was supporting workshops on sacred sexuality and shamanism, exploring the depth of this foundational journey, knowing it was the key to our evolutionary journey. And we'd often do a sacred drama, 3 minutes, that each participant would stand up and give a show, and they could do it completely off the cuff, which often worked best, of the relationship between their masculine and feminine. Sometimes it would be very harmonious and sometimes it could be very challenging, but it was real. It was the stories, the mythology that was living within them. And I'd done this many times. So I thought, right, I need some variety. So I thought, I'd just been to Egypt. I had a beautiful white and gold gown. So I decided to start off in my extraterrestrial nature and explore the extraterrestrial animal integration. So there I was, standing on a chair, connected to my God self, feeling very relaxed and at home. And then I'm like, so where's the animal? Because I was also separate from humanity, from my community, when I was residing in that extraterrestrial nature. So I literally took off my gown and I was naked and started crawling around the floor on all fours in my animal body. And my animal body, without that, was extra vigilant, was constantly on alert, and was always looking for danger, scanning the field. And it was really interesting. So I'm like, okay. So I backed up away from my audience and went back and connected with my symbolic extraterrestrial nature and wrapped it around my body. And all of a sudden, I landed into my power. And I was like, wow. Our power is not in one or the other. It's actually the integration of them both. And we need to integrate them both, be able to safely explore dimensionality and inhabit our physical body here on Earth, and the pleasure of our ecosexual nature that comes online when the polarities come into unity. It enlivens and awakens our whole body, that it becomes, our sensuality is not just located in our genital area, it's located in the whole organism that we inhabit. And that's where we get to start making love with life. And it's an absolute delight to live in our ecosexual natures.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that beautiful story that you experienced. And I I definitely see that, because also that level of sacred sensuality, I call it as a sacred sensuality, because it's not just about, we can actually be grateful for everything that we have, as a matter of programming, like we do with everything else, like say thank you 3 times. And yeah, that's hermetic knowledge, yes, the three is a very powerful number. However, if it's not coming from the deep foundations of that, of the aspects of you coming together in presence right here, right now, then it doesn't echo that much. Like for instance, for me, how it's well, one of the ways that that I can perceive it is, there can be many energetic entanglements, like people that you are connected with and so forth. Why? Because we are a network at different levels. And even with your multidimensional versions of yourself, so every time that I am fully connecting with any action that I am doing, like full presence. And there are many beings coming to me like, hey, we need to do this. Hey, grab it up. We're waiting for you here. Hey, where, like earthly, non earthly, galactic, like all of them, like, hey, we're waiting for you. And it's like the moment that you feel, there was a moment that I was required energetically so much that I had forgotten what it felt, my energy to be in me, what it felt to be within. So the moment I brought myself back in, it was like, wow, you know, and that part that is integrated, that is already integrated, and that is required to constantly being integrated. Normally, and I'm just sharing my story, but I'm quite sure that a lot of people see themselves in this. Sometimes it's like at different scales, like the mother role, like, hey mom, hey mom. I'm the mother doing this and that and that and that for everyone, bam, bam, bam. And then until the mother says, hey, take care, take care of yourselves, like leave me at this moment on my own. And then it's something that I, from that moment on, uh, I keep tracking a lot, because there are so many integrations going on. Like, I love the way that you simplified it, in the extraterrestrial and the terrestrial. But from those, there come like many branches, many branches, infinite ones. So, it's like I love it how the Incas have a way to say it, which is no cancani, and then you say your name, which is I am no cancanisha, no cancanisha, no cancanisha. So the frequency of those words, and saying it in full presence is always, like, hey, come here to the body, come here to the body. And then you can attend any affairs. But the moment that you start giving also energetically, the more that you displace your consciousness from the body that you are experiencing right now. So, and I do feel that sacredness, it's something very powerful. That's why they show it in the ancient practices, Perhaps it's nothing new. However, from the depth that you do it is what makes a difference. Because as I was saying in the beginning, um, If you just say it, like as a programming, like, yeah, okay, thank you, thank you, thank you, then it won't echo in your reality. However, if you're feeling that you're making love to everything, this is why I said it was going to be a hardcore, but then, like saying, okay, let's go progressively, because that's what also was shown in the mystery schools in relation to the sisterhoods of Isis and then Mary Magdalene, and many other, priestesses. That was the level of mastering your magnetic energy, which is that attraction, and your kinetic energy, which is expansion, which is the sexual energy, magnetic and kinetic coming together. Yet we mostly direct it always to a genital part. And it's not. It can be, there can be, of course, and it can be very powerful. Yes, indeed. Nevertheless, it can be a practice with everything. Hey, wait, but how can I make love to a T? Well, okay, if we look at it at a quantum level, the T has information. I have information. We both have codes. The moment that the T enters into my field, it's penetrating my field. What's another form that we call, in a very literal way, penetration? Precisely having coitus. So it's a quantum level of penetration of the field, or even you and I, as we are exchanging energies, it's another form. When you are aware of the amount of energy that you're moving, and how, for instance, now my energy, perhaps it's magnetizing yours because you're attentive. And then when you are talking, then your magnetic energy is pulling me in because I'm attentive. And now mine, I'm from the kinetic, which would be the masculine. And when you're a listener, you're the feminine. And back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. The more aware that we are of this, then we will go through levels. Then we are fully embodied here. And then we go through levels, and then we see, oh, okay, so we are weaving a lot. And also with the people that is connected. Okay, so then that requires another level of entanglement, So then creating a field of coherence. And then you create a field of coherence, which is what you would be shielding. Because also, as we are speaking now and opening so many topics, there are many energies trying, to, to come in. So the more that we also, now where is the heart? And the heart is precisely that coherence, bringing them both. I'm quite sure that you all, dear tribe, that are writing very beautiful things. By the way, I will read some of the comments now. Like how the heart is represented as the two Fibonacci's coming together, which is precisely that communion of the serpents, which is the wisdom, which is the energy, which is the many things. So, and then you create that coherent field. But if you measure the amount and percentage of energy that every moment is being derived from you, distracting you from focus, that energy is most likely to being other versions of yourself, because harvesting is not always a negative thing.
Yeah, just one thing to share before we go into questions there and comments there. It comes back to the absolute importance of our foundation of embodiment, to make sure this foundation is strong, for it's like the base of a multidimensional jigsaw puzzle that we are. So we want to have a strong base. We want to be rooted in the body and the planet in this now point in time, in physical reality. But it also provides a base or the foundation of our jigsaw puzzle. When we go out, we have a place to come back to, return to. And as we pick up parts of our consciousness, when we start doing our healing work, we have a place to bring it back to. So we're actually strengthening and fortifying not just our foundation in this body as a human on earth, but our multidimensionality. We're bringing back pieces of the jigsaw puzzle every time we go out. And it's a reminder whenever we do go out, that we come back the same way, and that we do come back. Because often when people start connecting to the multidimensionality, they go out and they fall asleep and they forget to come back. And then we can actually leave loops, and we can leave holes in our consciousness, and we can get quite infiltrated in a very short space of time, which is also what happens when people go on journeys with plant medicine or synthetic drugs when they're not in secure and safe environments. It's like living in the Bronx and going out and leaving all your windows and doors open and expecting everything to be in place when you get home. It doesn't happen that way. So then you have to go and get support to get it all excavated. So it brings in more conscious awareness on what we're giving our consciousness to, and who we're sharing our energy with, and how we're sharing our energy with. Because quite honestly, it makes no difference if you're making love physically or energetically, you're still opening your universe to another's universe. And when you start becoming the custodian of your multidimensional universe, you're not likely to share your multidimensional universe with another who is not custodian of theirs. So it's a really interesting, it changes the way that we're walking in the world. And it changes the degree of self-love, which of course is the vital center of all of it. On planet, off planet, in body and out of body. But no matter where we go, we must always come home.
I love that. I love that. Yes. Some people really love the ride and never want to come back, unto an extent that they go into a coma. So yeah, there are some cases I have known many cases like that. But the thing is that when you make your house a beautiful place, your home more than house, when you make your home such a comfortable place to be at, so comfy, so loving, then you do want to come back. So I wanted to say, like, also when you bring pieces of you, it's very important to clear them, because of course they have entanglements, and then you perhaps not only bringing a piece of yourself, you're bringing a whole troop, and the troop has nothing to do with you, for who you are right now, so it's very important to clear also that energy that you're bringing within, even if it's yours, because it's like, if you go out and on a hiking and there is a lot of moth, well, of course you are bringing the beautiful experience with yourself. However, you shall clean your boots at some point, I guess. Perhaps some people won't, and it's okay. But I mean, at least your feet, you will shower them once. So it's something related to that.
There's so many places we could go from here, because what we're offering in foundation of the embodiment is the foundation of our soul embodiment, the foundation of Homo Luminous. And that one needs to be very stable and in place before we start opening into our galactic embodiment, our Homo Galacticus. Mm-hmm. And then our Homo Universalis are all stages of evolution for waiting for us. But that's probably enough information on our foundation of embodiment for soul embodiment and becoming Homo Luminous on the planet. That is available to us now.
Yes. Well, just one question, just one thing, because it has something that has been, like now, like creating a lot of boom in the media, and in relation to the pyramids, and you mentioned also the luminous, the Homo luminous, and the luminous DNA, of course. So when we achieve that luminescent spectrum of our DNA, because we are fulfilling the pyramid. We are creating that, we are mirroring the pyramid. So as above, as below, as within, as without. And that's when the fully DNA ignites into an octahedron, and then going through all kind of geometries and going through that beautiful process of evolution. So yes, thank you. And there are no questions, but there are beautiful comments. And
That's exciting. Just before you go there, is because I literally, since Easter, I've opened the doors to our next sacred journey through Egypt, which is scheduled for September equinox, our ancient future.
Yes, I saw. That's exciting.
Journey through Egypt, and yeah, it's for people who have anchored into Homo Universe, Homo Luminous Soul Embodiment, and are reconnecting to their galactic architecture and what comes after that. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yes,
But
I'm
yes,
so excited for you. So excited. I might jump in. I'm really feeling the calling to go to Egypt. It will come in the perfect moment. Right now, I'm taking care of a couple of things here, a few things to say it somehow. But anyway, I'm grateful and happy.
oh, it'd
Hmm.
be a gift to have you join us if you feel called.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's see. I'm giving a presentation in September in Las Vegas, which is very interesting. When is your journey? Well, we can talk
From the
about that
9th,
later. But
yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
9th
just
to the
no, but it's
23rd of
from all
September.
people.
It's for 9th to 23rd, so that
Oh,
they're
yeah.
in on Giza for the equinox on the Giza
Okay.
Plateau.
So anyone who is interested in going to Egypt and in resonance with the teachings of Leanne and teachings of them all, and also bringing your teachings into the journey, yeah, you can contact Leanne. Um, yeah, I will leave her description in the video, her details in the description below this video. And yeah, if you want to join any of my well, the next conference is in Florida, but we will talk about that just before closing the video, finishing the transmission. uh, I just wanted to, there is someone, well, there are very beautiful resonant messages, all of them. And there is one who talks about the fib of no chi. I had heard about that. Yeah, how I see it is there are different forms of a spiral, of course. I don't know if you have heard about that, but they say that the Fibonacci is like, it's Fibo, no, fib of no chi. And that is just, like also the flower of life and Metatron's cube and so forth, like all these codes. And for me, information is just information. We are giving the power of it due to the perception that we are connecting with. Because, for instance, if we see the Fibonacci, those are algorithms, sequences, numerical sequences. There is another spiral that I saw that this belief does approve, and are other algorithms. So in this reality, you require from the whole spectrum to create different things. But again, wholeness, like you do require from all the numbers to create different algorithms. And even those like the Fibonacci, if it is, like limiting instead of expanding, there it shall have the only fact that it's embedded, for instance, in the pine cones, then has something about it that you can use for your highest evolutive purpose. Something, you know? Or for instance, the Metatron's cube, it has the pattern of the molecule. So perhaps the name is not, like, it's not related to one Elohim or, like consciousness. Perhaps it's a cube with 7 spheres. That it's the shape of the molecule. It's the fundamental shape of the molecule. And it's actually through those 7 directions that you unfold the cube, this incubation that we're experiencing. And for instance, the flower of life, if it has a seal, it's because it's showing the first stages of cellular replication of the 8 original cells. After that, if you try to use the flower of life to expand your field, then it's not a good combo. Then you can use the toroidal field, expansive. But if you're addressing to the encoded form of the 8 original cells, then perhaps you can use it, without leaving an imprint or detaching from the imprint, negative imprint that it can have. So this is the way that I approach to reality. Of course, anyone can approach to that however it feels them more comfortable, however they feel more comfortable. So do you want to say anything about that?
What came up as you were sharing is, along our journey of awakening, our journey of embodiment and evolution, we will come across many paths, many teachers, many tools. And what's really important is not to get attached to any. Gratitude for the gifts, the lessons learned, and leaving all that no longer serves. And know that many systems have ceilings on. That can be very valuable at that stage of our learning. But when we start bumping up against the ceiling, it's a good idea to pause, look around, and ask our soul, what are the next steps for our next stage of evolution?
Exactly. And yeah, beautiful way to put it. Everything has an imprint. I remember that this is one of the reasons why I began translating codes and tuning into the source code, because I understood the importance of bringing our unique transmission of who we are beyond all the symbols that exist and geometries that exist, that of course they are embedded in the universe. However, everyone, it's like a pile of water. Everyone goes, puts their hand on it, then it has their information. And even if you don't put your hand on that pile of water, then, or water vessel, then it's capturing the frequency that everyone is emitting, the ones around that vessel, So there is always exchanges at many levels. And as long as we are coherent, then there are no attachments, as you said. No, there are no attachments. None. There are just connections. Because the attachments, I'm referring to that as an unhealthy form of holding to something that is not longer in resonance, or at that moment in resonance. Or also when you are trying to protect yourself from something, then there is fear in the core, but when you're free, you're just tuning into and creating links and bonding freely, because you know that as soon as you connect with something, you will release as soon, because you are evolving all the time. And it's just a play. And the moment that we fall for parties, the moment that we fall for this matrix, so for the limited one. So yeah.
It is. So we're restoring
Okay.
coherence and we're restoring synchrony. And from the not knowing, we may access the all knowing. And now is a beautiful time to restore synchrony, because it's Beltane in the north, Samhain in the south. It's the cross quarter of our solar cycle. So it's a beautiful time to do ceremony to help sync ourselves with our solar cycles with our planetary seasons, and eventually with the source of creation.
Yes, yes. Okay, so yeah, I'm sorry. I was also reading. Yeah, I will. I will. Yeah. Thank you. I awaken your mind. I will write to you when we finish this transmission. Thank you. I would love to talk to you as well. Okay, so thank you. I love the way that you express always, and yeah, today love is in the air everywhere I look. Okay. Well, thank you so much. It was lovely to see you. Looking forward for our next cosmic tea. Thank you, beautiful women. Thank you, beautiful men. Thank you, beautiful beings. If you have any suggestions, as you know, my dear sister and I do every once and then these transmissions. So if at some point you would also like for us to talk about something or have a suggestion, or please just write it. We are more than happy to to open the space for that which you are also tuning into, that shall be spoken. So yeah, thank you, Third Eye Tribe, Patricia. By the way, I will write to you in private, spiritual goddess, awaken your mind. Yeah, thank you all. There is a Christy Campbell. Well, there are many. Thank you, Tennessee. Okay, and hello everyone. So, are there any other words that you want to say
Just
before?
thank you. Thank you, Isha, for our Samhain Beltane tea in the Cosmic Cafe. Thank you for all your community that have enjoyed traveling with us, and for all those who may still join us watching the recording. May you slow down enough to enjoy the beauty of life and what's unfolding through this present moment. And look forward to sharing the journey with you. And I'm also happy to share the links for Foundation of Embodiment, who people feel resonant to
Yes.
stabilize their ground crew for what's to come.
Yeah,
Because
you were
there's
talking
much
about
to
you
unfold.
were yes, thank you. You were talking about your method. So also, if someone is interested in knowing about that method, that amazing and beautiful, powerful method that you were sharing with us, thank you for that. Yeah, reach out to Leanne. She has many wisdom, powerful tools, and yeah, many magic to share with you. So
To make life on earth more
uh
playful and more pleasurable.
indeed, indeed. So, well, thank you, everyone. As I was saying, if you are interested in joining me in any of the conferences that I will be assisting to as a speaker, and the closest one is a Full Disclosure Now conference in Florida in July. Very excited about that. Last year was amazing, and we did a lot of foundations for this year, so quite excited to see the fruits that blossomed from all of that which we planted there, and what we will be planting this year. um yeah, if you want to know what I will be presenting on, you can access to the event, a lot of ET, and also how to uh, generate a lot of awareness of your multidimensional body and holographic technology. And And the other one is in Las Vegas, the Alien event, which also will be very, very powerful. Will be done. There will be done a lot of things. So if you want to participate and um, action in that, then I will also be talking about very interesting topics. I will write the description below. Also, if you want a special discount, you for the full disclosure now event, I will be. You can access to my special code. So on that, and now thank you. Also, if you want to participate on the pyramidal activation, you're still on time. It will be on May the 20th in alignment with the Sun and Pleiades. Well, it's when Pleiades is aligned to the Sun, so it will be very powerful to receive from the Alcyon's plasma and align and at another level to the photonic belt of Alcyon and to that pyramidal network without from a ninth and seventh level of consciousness to all the way within. Um, so if you want more info, you can watch my videos or write to me in mail that I will write in the description below. So thank you very much. I think we covered very important topics. As we do, I feel very pleased to walk with you, for your presence, dear sister. And thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you all for what you are doing. Thank you for watching this show. And may everything that once distracted you from connecting with your original power be now the bridge that reconnects you to that power in full surrender, a surrender that expands through the freedom that the truth within you echoes within the voice expressing the true nature of who you are. Thank you. Thank you,
HUNUH.
HUNUH. Thank you all.